Biatches.
I think we're already live.
You didn't play the music. I was waiting on the music.
Oh man, it's because I'm in my old MacBook. My wife's. It's because I. So my original intent was just grab something quick to eat, and then jet back to the office and do the podcast in the office because now that's where I have my setup. And then I realized that it was already 7:20. I was like, dude, there's just no way I'm gonna make it. So then I turned on my old computer and here I am. So I don't have a whole lot here. But we do have a recording of you saying "biatches."
Nice.
So I think I'm gonna turn that into my ringtone.
I had gone to a different screen. I was just waiting on the intro music to know that we were live.
Well, we are live. I mean, you guys want me to do the intro music? Is that how we kickstart this in the right direction, or are we good?
Yeah,
we can just
we need some music to get going.
Okay, hold on. Where's the music? I'm not gonna play the normal music. I'm gonna play one of the less favorable songs.
Well, pretty much all of them are less favorable except for the one that you normally play.
When I play that song, I just think of William wearing spandex at a rave. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Probably not a good thing.
Probably not a good thing.
No, I don't think so. All right, man. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for another episode of our Cheers to Wealth podcast. A lot has happened in the last week and a half, at least for me, but I still make an effort to be here with you guys. And we were really, well, actually, we've been so busy that today we just kind of threw this topic together just because we needed a topic. And the dude that does our marketing is like, hey, I need a topic because I need to make your flyer. So we just kind of threw this one out there. So we're I don't want to say we're gonna wing it, but we're gonna somewhat wing it. And yeah, I mean, who wants to get started? But this is a good one though, man. I mean, realistically, I think that regardless of where you're at income level wise, I think everybody wants to be rich. Well, I think everybody wants to be wealthy, and I think there's different levels of wealth. Obviously, for some people, maybe making six figures, that to you is wealth. For some people, making $1 million a year, that's wealth. For some people, you have to be making $5 to $10 million to consider that wealth. I think everybody's different. I think it really just circles back to the lifestyle that you want to live. And I think ultimately, when you're kind of trying to figure out like whether you're rich or not rich, really, I think really what you want is freedom. You want the freedom to be able to do the things that you want to do. Now, our goal with this podcast and our goal with working with a lot of the clients that we work with is that, well, first of all, to have conversations with them about how to not give so much of their money to the IRS. I mean, that's a huge component, but then also a huge component of what we do is try to brainstorm and strategize with them the most efficient ways for them to place their capital, which is important, right? Having a return on investment is important. Having your money make money, having your money work just as hard as you do, all of that's important. And because I think everybody's on the same journey, which is we eventually want to get to a point with our finances where we work because we want to, not necessarily because we have to. So that's why I just kind of put this topic together. So gentlemen, I mean, whoever wants to kind of start this off, kind of put in their 2 cents, either one of you.
I'll go ahead and go. I think it's helpful to define what rich is. And I think different people have different meanings of that. You had mentioned freedom. To me, freedom has a lot to do with it because money can buy you that freedom where you can live life on your own terms. And for me personally, I consider wealth and being rich as long as I have enough money coming in that I don't have to work for, but still pays for all my bills, and then have some money left over where I can travel and do some vacations and have some trips with the family. To me, that's being rich, you know, and so that's what I'm working towards, is have enough of that passive income stream each month to where, you know, if I don't want to work, or if, I know this sounds mean, but if I don't want to take on a particular client, I don't take them on, because I'm still going to eat. I'm still going to have a roof over my head, and we'll still live life. So that's what it means to me. What do you think, William?
Yeah, sounds like, and good to see you guys again this week and everything. So just come through the tax season, so feeling a little tired tonight, but we're getting some rest and getting back on our feet here. But yeah, to live life on your own terms, I think that's one of the definitions of being rich. But you know, the difference between what we consider rich and wealthy is, rich, you have to keep producing that income to keep your lifestyle going. So you may make a high income and you're considered rich, but true wealth is the ability to either live life on your own terms or have enough money coming from your assets to support your lifestyle. Which our goal is to turn our earned income into investment income ultimately, because that's where you can build wealth and also be able to do things that you want to do. And like you talk about, taking on certain clients and things like that, definitely gives you the freedom to do that. So the goal, starting out to be rich, but to get along those lines, you got to do some things, you know, with your money to achieve that.
You know, I think it's funny that I talk to a lot of people that in I guess in certain people's eyes are not considered to make a lot of money, right? They don't make substantial money in comparison to others, but they live such happy lives, right? Like they do what they want to do, and what they want to do isn't necessarily anything that's going to cost them an astronomically large amount of money. Um, they work jobs that they love. Um, they get to spend time doing the things that they enjoy doing. I mean, they love life. And then I talk to other individuals who probably make 100 times more, and they're miserable, man. They're just completely miserable because they don't enjoy what they do. They make a lot of money, but they've accustomed themselves to a lifestyle that, in order for them to maintain that lifestyle, they're going to have to continue to make the amount of money that they're making. And in order for them to continue to make the amount of money that they're making, they're going to have to continue to do the things that they hate doing. And so I think it's kind of ironic that everybody always thinks that problems will be solved by making more money. And in many situations that is true, right? I mean, you can definitely solve a lot of problems by making more money. I get it. But I think that if you don't adjust your lifestyle, and if you don't set expectations, it's very easy to get caught in the hamster wheel where you're just making more money and you're spending more money. So then you have to make more money and then you spend more money. And then it just, there's this vicious cycle where you never get to where you want to get to. And so I think an understanding that people need to have is what are the expectations, right? What is the net worth that I want to have in my lifetime? Is that $1 million? Is that $2 million? Is that $5 million? Is that $10 million? It doesn't matter. What's the expectation? What are we trying to reach? What are the things that we need to do to be able to get there? So you can actually set a definitive game plan to be able to reach those goals. And then when you get there, then you have a decision to make. At that point, you can say, hey, I'm going to continue to work just because I like to work. Or you can say, the hell with it. I've reached my goal. I don't have to work anymore because according to my game plan, this is the amount of money that I need so that now my investments are able to take care of me. And really, it's all about perception. There's this book that I'm reading, and I would highly like to recommend it for anybody that's watching. I think it's a good book. I do Audible because I'm pretty sure I'm some sort of dyslexic. I just, I was never diagnosed because back in my day, ADD and what's the other one? ADHD. It wasn't allowed. My dad just said, "Sit down, shut up, or whoop your ass." That's just it's the way I was brought up, and so that's what I did. But it's very difficult for me to sit down and read a book. But I can do Audible all day, every day. And this book is called the Psychology of Money. And what this gentleman talks about is it's funny how a lot of the times people can get, I don't want to call it luck, but people can do really well in a certain sector and make a lot of money and still die broke because they took a lot of risk to make the initial money, and then they just feel like because they did it once, they can do it over and over and over and over again until one of those times they can't, and they end up losing it all. One of the guys that strikes me very, very much in this mentality is like Elon Musk. I love Elon Musk. I think he's one of the greatest innovators of our time. But guy, man, he just makes a lot of stupid decisions, I think, and he just kind of he talks a lot of crap. And I'm just like, at what point do you say, hey, maybe I should just take what I got and just make it stable, make it good. So The Psychology of Money, and it's by, I'll tell you right now, Morgan Housel. I would recommend you guys get that book. It's a good book.
Well, in me being the always looking for a shortcut, there's also the summary of The Psychology of Money. So I've been listening to that.
How is it? How do you like it so far? No, I didn't.
Yeah, it's good, but it just summarizes each chapter, kind of the cliff notes, But I think the actual book itself will be a lot better. So I need to listen to the book itself, because this is just somebody who is giving you their kind of summary of each chapter. It's not the original author, so it's just their interpretation. So, but it's been helpful so far. Yeah. I'd recommend the actual book.
Me too.
Well, I think it brings up a good point that psychology does play a lot into this, because different people view their situations differently depending on what their outlook, like you were talking about, on life is. So being rich is a term that is different for everybody. So I had someone come in the office today that wouldn't be considered rich necessarily, but they're going to be able to enjoy retirement because they've planned well, and their lifestyle things that make them happy is not something that's going to cost a lot of money. And so, they came in, want to know if they could retire. And I said, yeah, you've made enough money. You've got it set aside. Your lifestyle will allow you to retire. So yeah, go ahead, retire, enjoy your life. And you could just see they kind of felt that in their spirit, but they wanted it confirmed by someone else. But if you just looked at the numbers, you'd say, well, they might be a little short, but based on their lifestyle, they had plenty of money. And so that's the thing, is we talk about rich, we think about what rich looks like, but rich is just a term that allows, I think, for you to live your life the way you want to, and on your own terms, really.
Well, one of the stories that he outlines in the book, and I don't remember all the details, but I'll give you what I remember. He uses an example of, I think it was like a major CEO for a major company. Somebody looks at him, and you automatically just think success, drives a nice car, has a nice suit, just all of the attributes where people would say he's loaded. And when he passes away completely broke. Like he had nothing, because once again, he made the money, spent the money, made stupid decisions because he just assumed that he could just always make more money. And I'm not saying that you can't make more money, but what I'm saying is that the easiest way to continue to grow your net worth is take whatever money you have. That I guess his wife passed when he was younger and didn't have any kids. It's a janitor, just a flat out janitor, passes away, has a net worth of $9 million. Why? Because since he was in his early 20s, he just pretty much invested the majority of his paycheck, like 70% of his paycheck, just invested. When he passed away, he had a net worth of $9 million. Yet you look at him, and the last thing that you would think is this guy's a millionaire. And so it kind of circles back to perspective. And I think a lot of the times, especially here, well, I think this is the case pretty much anywhere. I think people spend a lot of time trying to look wealthy and not enough time actually trying to become wealthy. Like everybody always wants to have the nicest cars and they want to have the nicest clothes and the watches and I love watches and I if there's one thing that I will spend money on is it's watches, but because I look at them as an asset, not so much a liability. So for me it's watches, but I know that me having money in a watch would be the equivalent of me having the way I see it. So that's probably the only thing that I really do splurge money on, but I know that I can recoup that money with a return, which is why I'm okay with parking money there. But aside from that, man, I mean, I shop at Walmart, I shop at Target. I don't try to spend a lot of money, trying to appear wealthy, and I think that's probably one of the downfalls that I see with a lot of individuals today.
You are very frugal. I'll give you that. And you're talking about the appearances of wealth. I remember where I grew up, we only had 2 high schools at the time. And there was one part of town that was considered the rednecks, the farmers, the people that didn't have a whole lot of money. Then the other side of town was the rich people, the doctors, the lawyers, the business owners. And what people didn't realize is the rednecks and us people on the other side had a lot of money in land, farmers. There was still a lot of money. And I remember I played soccer growing up. And the other, the rich side of town had a better soccer team than my side of town. We had a better football team, but when it came to soccer, the other high school would always beat us. And so that was kind of my avenue to get to college was playing soccer. So I knew, I could have soccer pay for my school. And so we had decided that my family was going to actually move. So we would be in that school district where I could go to that school. And I remember going and looking at houses, and these people who want you to think they're rich, their kid didn't even have a bed. Their mattress was sitting on the floor. They didn't have a dresser to put their clothes in. They had their clothes just folded up, stacked up in the corner. No living room furniture. It was just, but the house was nice. The outside, they drove nice cars, but that's just an example of that appearance. And ultimately, I didn't go. That just turned me off to that. And so I stayed where I was, and we ended up having a really good team on my side of the tracks. Now there is another high school, so the competition isn't quite as fierce, maybe. But there was a big rivalry between the 2 high schools at the time. But anyway, I segue. I wanted to share that because there are numerous stories about people like that. And a guy here that I'm friends with, you would never know that he had a dime to his name. And he had found online a particular Mercedes that he wanted to buy. And it was $125,000. Well, he couldn't find it here locally. So he went to Atlanta on a Saturday. And he goes to Atlanta to buy this car. They had it. And he shows up at the dealer, and all of these salespeople are so busy, they keep passing him by. Don't even ask if they can help him. Well, this brand new salesperson finally came up to him and asked if they could help him. It was their first day on the job, and they ended up selling a $125,000 Mercedes cash. And that was their first sale. So you can't judge people like that. And, what I've learned is people that want you to think they have money, they don't. And, unfortunately, that's the case.
I actually have a similar story. So I have a cousin who's very well off. I mean, multi-millionaire. He's just been very successful, but he works construction, and he's still in the grind. I mean, he'll still go from. I mean, he has employees that'll work for him, but from time to time he has to go and get dirty and go and work, do some of the manual labor if somebody doesn't show up. And so he tells me when I'm gonna buy a vehicle, I purposefully go to the dealership in my old van in my work clothes, filled with sawdust and whatever, and see who's willing to give me time, like exactly what that gentleman did. He says, and people will pass me by. So the person that comes up to me and is actually willing to give me the time, like, that's the person that I work with. And so it was a similar scenario. He was going to buy an Escalade, which, I mean, an Escalade runs you probably anywhere between $80,000 to $100,000. It's an expensive vehicle. And sure enough, all the main guys, and he was actually asking. So his scenario was a little different. He was like, "Hey, I kind of want to see this vehicle. Yeah, in a second." And they just, they blow him off until finally, one of the salespersons, "Hey, let me help you, blah blah blah." He's like, "Okay." He's like, "I'll take it." Like, "Do you want to finance?" "No, I'll write you a check." Right? And it's one of those things where, you can't judge a book by its cover. And like, to me, at least the way that I was raised and the way my parents raised me, I will always treat everyone with respect. I don't care if it's the janitor of a company or a CEO or whatever. Everybody's always going to get the same treatment from me, because I just feel that, you just always have to be respectful for people. And so stories like that, I enjoy hearing about them, because it kind of goes to show that that's just really the mentality that people have. Everybody's all about physical appearances, but I guarantee you, for a lot of the people that are out there that look really really good, I guarantee you their bank account doesn't look anywhere near as good. And so that's definitely something to be mindful of.
Right.
Yeah, I mean the people that you would run into that you would think have nothing or have very little, those are the ones that usually surprise you. Like Dwight's talking about farmers and driving an old pickup truck, maybe dressing in overalls and things like that. Those have been the ones that have surprised us. But even we've got some clients even nowadays that if we were to look at them, we if you were to pick them out of a lineup, they're not doing very well, and then we find out, oh, well, they're making over $1 million a year. So yeah, you just never know. We're fortunate to work with a good cross section of people, all across the country. And then what we find out is that these are just good, hardworking people that build a business, and it really hasn't changed. A lot of them, they're still the same people they have been. It's just that they have found some success and things that they've enjoyed doing.
So to kind of segue from that, I titled the podcast today, so you want to be rich, here's step one. I will tell you what, in my opinion, step one needs to be, and then you guys can tell me if you agree if that should be step one, or if you have another step one, then feel free to share it. But to me, my step one, regardless of the amount of money that you're making, my step one was always, I need to make sure that at the end of every single month, I have more money than I do expenses. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much money that is. Obviously, the more money you can have left over at the end of the month, the better. But it just has to be something. So assuming that at the end of every month you have $3,500. I'm sorry. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Assuming that every $100 like that's your paycheck. Then after you pay all of your expenses, then you should at least have, and we're talking about expenses like, if you have a mortgage, your gas, your utilities, your groceries, going out to eat. But like, after you spend all of that, you need to have money left over. You need to have 250, 300, $400. Realistically, unless you have some margin at the end of every single month, you will always be behind. You will never ever be able to get ahead. So you need to have more money at the end of the month. And there's only really two ways that you can do that. Way number one is to have less expenses than you do income, which that sounds so simple, but it's just so difficult for people to do, because it used to be that people would have the same amount of expenses as they do income, like it would just zero out. But now everybody's in the negative, right? Because if you don't have enough income, what do? You just go put it on the credit card. And the credit cards right now are probably at like 24% annual interest rate. So that's just awful. And that's what people do, right? And so now people are operating in the negative. So you either need to have less expenses than you do income, or if there's just absolutely no way for you to do that, because right now the expenses that you have, those are the expenses that you need, then at that point you need to figure out a way to make more money, right? Because those are really the only two ways that this can work. Less expenses than you do income, or if you're just right there, then you're going to have to figure out a way to make more money. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. You can either create a business, you can get a part-time job or whatever, but you need an additional stream of revenue that's going to generate you more income. That's where you have to start, regardless of the amount of income that you make. That's just my suggestion. I'm curious to hear yours.
Well, and it's not how much money you make; it's how much money you save, right? Because you can make a lot of money, but if you blow it all and spend it, there's nothing to save. And what would you recommend them doing? So, Raul, you went off camera. Are you not available? I was going to ask you. Let's say that we do have the $350, $400 left over at the end of the month. I was going to ask what you recommended them to do with that money. At that point, what do you think?
Well, at least in my opinion, if you don't have an emergency fund, if you can't say, I can go, excuse me, so I'm sorry, gentlemen, but I've been sick. Then my mom made this ceviche. Good grief, she was pissed off when she made this thing, dude. This thing was hot. Like there was like more jalapenos in there than there was anything else. So yeah, that totally messed me up. So if you don't have an emergency fund, if you can't say, I can go 3 months, 4 months, 6 months without receiving a paycheck and I'll be okay. If you cannot say that, you are one catastrophe away from complete and total bankruptcy. So once you develop that margin, right, either by lowering your expenses or by creating an additional stream of income, you save it. I mean, realistically, I would like to tell you, go and invest in the S&P 500, or go and buy mutual funds like Dave Ramsey says, or whatever. I mean, you can't really do any of that. You have to have savings. And here's my perspective why I think this is very important. You can never make drastic changes in your life if you don't have something to back you up. I think part of the reason why most individuals work a job that they hate for their entire life is because they never put themselves in a financial situation to be able to take some risks and say, man, the hell with this. I'm wasting my life here. I quit. I'm out. Most people don't have enough liquid capital to be able to make that decision, because if they go 1 month without receiving a paycheck, everything goes to hell in a handbasket quick. And part of that reason is because you've never had more income than you do expenses, or you've never had more revenue than you do expenses. So then that doesn't put you in a situation where you can save, doesn't put you in a situation where you can create an emergency fund, and then you can never make any drastic decisions to change your life, because your financial situation is terrible. And so as much as I would like to get real fancy, Dwight, and tell people to go and invest in real estate and go and invest in stocks or crypto or whatever, realistically, the first thing that people need to have is just the savings. And the best thing about that right now is in the high interest rate environment that we're living in today, you can find an account that makes you between 4 and 5% pretty much anywhere, right? You just stick your money in there, just save it, save it, save it, save it. And once you get a good $15,000 to $20,000, now we could potentially look at some other opportunities. That would be my suggestion.
Yeah, I was thinking a high yield savings account to at least earn some good interest. put the money away for now, because ultimately you need to start accumulating, once you get past that emergency fund stage, additional money that you can deploy into assets and not liabilities. And so every time I buy something, it's just constantly running through my head now. Is this what I'm buying going to make me money? And a lot of times it doesn't. I'm like, well, then I start questioning, should I be buying this? So that's one thing to focus on. Is this going to be an asset? Is it going to appreciate over time? And so you got to be mindful of that. So I agree with your step one. So once we've got some money saved, step two, I guess, and that's not the topic, right? But I think the next step would be to start deploying those additional funds above the emergency fund into assets that are going to pay you monthly without you having to work.
I agree with that. William, what do you think?
Well, I think we bring up a good point here when you talk about assets and liability. You can make a good income and have margin, but you continue to buy liabilities rather than assets. And so what we mean by that and what we define it, define the assets. An asset is something that you buy that will put more money in your pocket, whereas a liability is going to take money out of your pocket. So what we see is a lot of times when people move into a different income level, they will go and buy more liabilities for themselves with that additional money and call themselves rich because now they have fancy toys and things like that. And there's nothing wrong with that, but to do that, if you want to get ahead, you need to buy the assets so the assets produce the cash flow, and the cash flows from the asset can pay for your liabilities. But too often you'll see people that will go and spend money on the liabilities, and then at that point they're still consuming all their income and they have to continue to work no matter how much money they're making, because they've taken that extra money now and it's not going to necessities, but it's going to other bills that they've created because they deem themselves to have become rich.
Well, I'll share with you guys a personal story. And I was talking to a good friend of mine yesterday who he's the pastor of the church that I go to, and he's just a great guy. I tell him, man, do you definitely put in some overtime with me, because he's always having to put in overtime with me. I'm just one of those dudes. But one of the things that I was sharing with him, with this whole catastrophe that happened with our home, for people that are watching us, so our primary residence about a week and a half ago caught fire. I mean, like literally, we lost our entire home and the majority of our belongings that were inside the home. Luckily, we have insurance, and so the insurance should be covering pretty much everything, and I'm very grateful for that. But it's going to be a lengthy process. It's going to be a lengthy process. It's going to be months, if not the entire year, before all of that settles out. And I told my wife, I said, the only thing that would have completely set me back substantially, because it's a pretty big home, is if I didn't have insurance. Like if I didn't have insurance, I would have had to have spent a good amount of what I have for our family in renovating our home. Luckily, that's not the case. But I told her, I mean, we're good. I said, don't worry about it. We're fine. Like, even if the insurance company takes months to pay us anything, we're okay. And I'm very appreciative, because I still have a lot of people that, they brought us gift cards, and, they bring us food, and, friends that know that my daughter is in middle school, and they have kids that are a little bit older that are around the same size, and they're like, hey, we have a lot of clothes, and because my kids lost everything, and it's I feel bad, because like in my mind, I'm like, man, there are other people that need this a lot more than we do, right? But at the same time, when somebody wants to come and help you, the last thing that you want to do is say something along the lines of, I'm good, I appreciate, but I'm not going to turn people away if they want to help us. I don't they want to help us because it's out of the kindness of their heart, and I appreciate it very much. And I just told my wife, you keep tabs. I say keep tabs because all of this help that we are receiving, I said we're just gonna pay that forward. Like literally when we see somebody in need, especially somebody that could potentially be going through the same situation that we're going through today, maybe a year from now or 2 years from now, I told her, I just want you to know if that happens, I'm leaving the house and I'm gonna go give those people a check. I said because that's just the way things are supposed to work. But to kind of circle back to my original case in point, we're okay. We're not hurting for anything. We're fine. I had to go to freaking Best Buy and pretty much re-outfit my entire office equipment, which was a substantial amount of money, unfortunately. But I can do that because I'm prepared for these situations. And I just think as I kind of analyze everything that happened, I'm just like, how many people go through the same scenario that we're going through and have lived their life paycheck to paycheck, and now they're in a situation where they're not prepared for something like this, and they don't even have $300 or $400 to their name. And that to me is just it's one of those situations that just makes me think of, well, first of all, how fortunate we are, but like secondly, how many people out there are just one major catastrophe away from their life just completely being ruined. And so part of what we want to do here, ladies and gentlemen, aside from obviously teaching you about taxes and finances, it's just really teaching you about how to be better prepared for life, because life can throw you some massive curveballs that you're not expecting. And you really either you're prepared, and unfortunately I think most people are not prepared. Oh, Will McCandless says, hey William, thank you for helping with my taxes, man.
Okay. That's good. So give a shout out to Will. He's one of our our new clients. So
Can you hear Will?
What's that?
Did we lose him, Dwight? Or
No,
is it just me?
I can hear him.
I can.
Okay, then it's just
Yeah.
me. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, go ahead, William. I can hear you.
I'll say to give a shout out to Will. He's one of our new clients here, so we're glad to service him. I get a little confused sometimes with emails because it's to Will from Will, but yeah, we share the same name, and hopefully we'll be able to help his business grow and prosper as well.
But is Will also a Georgia fan?
Well, that's what
Do you
we'll
know?
have to. He can comment a Go Dogs or let us know who he pulls for there.
Yeah, if Will's a Georgia fan, say Go Dogs. 'Cause I'm a Georgia fan too.
Yeah, we're
trying to convert Raul.
Yeah, we'll get him converted once he comes to some college football games and sees the big crowds, and I mean 100,000 people on a Saturday barking, grown men barking at each other. Yeah, you'll enjoy some of that.
Well, maybe Raul needs to come with us to the world's largest outdoor cocktail party this year.
Yeah, that would be good.
Can you hear us again, Raul? No. I think Raul's done. Yeah, once you go to Jacksonville for the Georgia Florida game, he should be hooked at that point.
I would think so, especially taking a whole extended weekend to go down there. So
yeah,
that's one of my.
Get down there Wednesday.
Yeah, we're coming Wednesday this year. We're gonna make the full weekend with you.
Nice. Yeah, we had a good time last year.
Yeah, we did.
Well, Raul, you can be able to join us.
Technical difficulties here.
There we go. We got you. We can hear you. Could you hear us talking about you? Could you hear us talking about you?
I couldn't, but I would imagine it wasn't good. Could you guys hear my entire spiel? Was it just me that I couldn't hear you guys, or you guys couldn't hear me either?
We could hear you. You just cut out right at the very end. We heard it all.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just, man, I really don't want to repeat all that again.
No, I wouldn't.
Very good. Okay. Sorry,
We're glad though your family made it out safe, and you can replace things, and just blessed that nothing happened to nobody. So grateful for that.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, it was an ordeal. It was an ordeal. Awesome. So yeah, Will, I appreciate you doing business with William. I know he's a pain in the ass to work with, but you know, he tends to grow.
We were just discussing though how you're going to go to Jacksonville this year with us for the Georgia-Florida game, and that is a test.
That will be our official fall retreat.
Yeah.
You know, because you guys are big on. Do either one of you play golf?
Yeah.
Well,
no.
Oh, okay. William, do you play golf?
I play at golf. I would go for the entertainment value of it.
So you just go to drink? Is that what you're saying?
Well, that's what we call entertainment on here, I guess.
Okay, got it. Yeah, man, that's definitely on my bucket list. But I'm just such a terrible golfer. Like I'm not built for golf. I'm built for hitting people.
We have us a 9-hole course here in our town, and that's enough golf for me. I don't need 4 or 5 hours out there. Just a couple hours, and maybe grab a lunch. Afterwards. That's a good afternoon.
I remember one time with Joseph. So we need to have Joseph on this podcast. So Joseph, he works for the firm that we work with, and he does a lot of our estate planning and a lot of our LLCs and entity creation stuff. And so, like back in the day, he was doing finances, and he hosted this golf tournament, and he didn't host it, but he was a sponsor. He was like one of the sponsors, right? And so he invited me. Man, I drank no water over the course of like 5 hours, like from 8 a.m. to like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I don't think I've ever been more wasted in my life. I don't ever want to do that again. But that wasn't even the bad part. The bad part was that the gentleman that they paired us with, because me and Joseph were, I guess, like you pair up, right? So me and Joseph were a group, and we were playing against these older gentlemen that were actually good at golf and weren't drunk. So they were getting extremely frustrated because I couldn't even hit the damn ball, because I'd hit it and be like, dude, where? And then the thing was still there. After a while, I was just like, dude, I'm just gonna watch you guys. I'm holding up this game way too much. But yeah, that's about as far as my golf game goes. So I would like to be good one day. I just don't have time to play, and I can't get good unless I play.
I guess maybe you didn't know Dwight at that time. Dwight has a formula for us to follow so that won't happen to you again.
Oh, what is it? Is it beer, water? What's the formula?
No, it's for every 3 beers you drink a water. Or is it 2 beers? Sometimes I forget my own formula.
I guess we're gonna have to test it to figure it out.
What is it, William? You tell me mine.
I think it's 3-1, maybe. I
thought it was 3-1.
2-1 seems a little aggressive, but 3-1.
2-1, you won't ever have fun. So it needs to be 3-1. Is a good ratio. But it also depends on the heat.
It was hot. It was very hot. It was a very hot day. Yeah.
Well, the Masters was this past weekend, and I love watching the Masters. I've always wanted to go. So if any of our viewers out there that have tickets to the Masters that can get me in, please let me know. But there's so many fans out there, and they're around the tee box. So these people are teeing off, and it's so tight. And there's a little alley that they create with the fans, and those people would be in danger if I was teeing off. I mean, they're just way too close. And I saw on Facebook where somebody had taken a picture of the tee box with the fans around it, and he drew like these red circles of the crowd on both sides of the tee box, and then he drew red circles up in the trees, and then even behind the tee box. And then he says, "If you're in one of these red circles, you're in danger of me hitting you." And that's exactly how it'd be for me. So just you got to watch out. But I'm
Yeah.
surprised they let people get that close, because even the pros mess up from time to time, with a bad shot. Not often, but it can happen. A lot less than it would happen for me.
Sure.
Well,
That-
one of the things that about the Masters too is they don't allow cell phones at the Masters, so people there actually do go and are able to just for the event. And someone had asked me, "Well, what do you do about taking pictures?" I said, "Well, you take a camera with you." So they were too young to remember that we do have things called cameras. So, but yes, the Masters is a bucket list item, even though it's at the end of tax season every year. We would have to file a few more extensions to be able to enjoy that weekend.
And the Masters is what the Augusta rule was built after, right?
Yes, because those people in that town they realized that they could rent their houses out and make pretty good money, because these professional golfers and their teams, I mean, they come in about a week before the Masters. So they're actually there for about a week and a half to 2 weeks. And so that's where that 14-day rule came in, because people were renting their houses for 14 days, getting out of town. And then they petitioned Congress that, well, this really isn't a rental property. This is, we just kind of did it for a 2-week stay. And so it really shouldn't count toward income, and we're not going to take any expenses. And so that's where the Augusta rule originated from, was right there in Augusta, Georgia. And so, yeah, that's the biggest use of the Augusta rule in one town over those 2 weeks when the Masters rolls into town.
Yeah, and I think too, William, it's part of the Paper Reduction Act, because there was, before that, there were so many tax returns being filed claiming all that that's another reason Congress decided to do away with it, because it was just such a burden processing all the, that on the tax return side. So that was part of that Paper Reduction Act as well. So just interesting how things like that change tax laws.
Correct.
Pretty impressive.
And how the intent was just for that couple of weekends, and now, well, that's the tax law. We can use it all over the country.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting. And that's the first time I'd met our boss, David Perez. It was, he asked me where I was from, and I told him from Georgia, close to where the Augusta rule was created. So it was like the Augusta rule actually does have some meaning. It came out of the town of Augusta.
So what do you want to give people an explanation of what the Augusta rule is and how they can use it in the event that they wanted to use it?
Yes, the Augusta rule basically allows homeowners to rent out their house for 14 days or less during the year. And if you only rent it for 14 days or less, then all the income that you collect on that rental is non-taxable income. And so a couple of ways that it can benefit your business is if you have people, like you have family members that serve on your board of directors for your corporation, and say that these family members come over to your house for Thanksgiving and they stay for 3 or 4 nights. Well, you can actually rent rooms out to them and have the corporation pay for it. And so as the corporate owner, you can benefit that way. You can host parties at your house, have different events. You can shoot content. You can really use your home for some business purposes and collect some income off of that. And then you don't have to, it reduces your corporate tax bill that ultimately is passed through to your personal tax bill. But yeah, it's a good tax strategy for homeowners to be able to get some tax-free rent. One of the caveats to it, though, is you have to file your business return, has to file on some type of corporate return, whether it's a S corp or a C corp or a partnership return. So you can't file as a Schedule C and utilize this rule, but if you do file as a corporation or a partnership and you own a home, then this is a way to get some tax-free cash through your business.
I like it. So, ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah.
just remember, if you have a business and you have a home, you can rent your home to your business for 14 days out of the year.
Well, I mean, technically, anybody, regardless of having a business, can do it up to 14 days out of the year. Just that we use it as a tax strategy for business owners. So, whether you have a business or not, you can still do this 14 days out of the year.
And it's just not going to count as income.
Right. Some people do it like if they maybe they're planning a vacation where they're not going to, they're leaving. They'll put their house on Airbnb or something, some sort of website to advertise. And that way, when they're gone on their vacation, they've got somebody coming in and staying at their house for the week and, 6-7 days, and a good way to make tax-free income. If you don't mind people being in your house.
True. Depends on the rate. For $1,000 a day, yeah, they can bring all their family. Yeah.
Some of these families are collecting thousands of dollars during that 2 weeks of the Masters, because they're renting these houses out for sometimes maybe $2,000 or $3,000 a day, and they're renting it out to the professional golfers and people that are in town that just want to have a nice home to stay in while they're there. So it's really it's unbelievable. And another neat story about the Masters is that they cleared out some neighborhoods around the golf course to allow for more parking. And there's this one lady that refused to sell her house. So her house sits in this parking lot right outside the Masters. So the Masters comes to her front yard every year. She will not sell her home to let them tear it down. So she is the last holdout of the homes along what they call the Masters Trail there.
Man, that property's got to be worth some money.
They've offered her over $1 million for it, and she still will not let it go. She's lived there for like 50 or 60 years at this point.
For her too.
Yeah.
There's got to be a price somewhere, you would think.
There's always a price, man. There's always a price. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, I don't really have anything else, and we're hitting the 1 hour mark. Anything else that you guys want to add before we close out for today?
Well, I think it's good for people to understand that maybe some of what we do now that tax season is over, like now we start working on 2024 for clients, start planning their taxes. So for us, taxes is a year-round venture. It's not just a 2 or 3 month process here, and then we don't have anything else to do for the rest of the year. So now we are in the process now of evaluating first quarter results for clients and starting to get some strategies together for them based on the projections. And so that's where the planning is kind of a year-round thing. So if you've got a business that you're starting to make some money and you've been told, making money results in a high tax bill, perhaps it'd be good to talk to someone like ourselves that could help you plan your taxes. And just kind of, a lot of times we will meet with the clients initially just to see if there are ways that we can help them. So it doesn't hurt to reach out to us to see if we can help you, save some money on your taxes.
Well, and it's funny because
we had some comments, man. For whatever reason, the comments don't populate over here. They populate on my phone. Go ahead, Dwight. I'll tell you guys the comments.
Well, I got into the tax business because I only wanted to work January to April. And unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, it has turned into a year-round type of a business. And so William's right. When you come in and file your tax return, all we're doing is reporting history for the last year. There's very little that we can do to help. There are maybe some things, but most of the options are off the table. Right now, all of the options are on the table for 2024. So the thing, if you've already filed for 2023, what I want you to do, this is some homework, look at your 1040 and look at your total tax. Don't look at what your ultimate refund was, or what you ended up paying on the bottom of the 1040, look for that total tax line, because after the total tax, you have your withholdings, maybe from your W-2, or if you made estimated quarterly payments, you have that going against that tax. So I want you to look at the total tax, though, because that's actually your tax liability. And if that is, what would you guys say, at least $30,000 or more, then you probably need to seek help from a tax advisor, tax strategist. Most likely your CPA, your tax preparer, is not a tax strategist. They are in the business of just preparing tax returns. So check that out on your 1040. Just because you got a refund doesn't mean you didn't have a lot of tax. And there's ways to even help W-2 earners that make a lot of money help offset taxes. So now's the time to start doing that. It's a year-round event. It's a marathon. So we just need to keep training for it. So hopefully when you file your taxes for 2024 next year, you're not caught off guard. You're able to keep more of your money in your pocket and do good things with it.
I like it. Good stuff. So we had some good support. Joseph says, "What's up, gents? Cheers." Rolly Gonzalez said 100%. I guess he liked the content. Thank you, Rolly, man. Thank you for watching. David Perez, the CEO of Tax Plan Experts, which is the firm that we consult at, said it's a good book, The Psychology of Money. Jerry put a muscle arm. I guess he likes the content. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you for watching. Jerry actually runs a very successful credit repair business. Has been a client for a while. Aaron Garcia says, "Cheers." He may already be drunk. We know Aaron really well. So, yeah.
Is that the one who had died?
He's yes.
Yeah.
According to we opened a business account with Wells Fargo, and needless to say, Aaron is a good friend of mine, so I included him in this business endeavor. So we went to go open the account at Wells Fargo, and according to Wells Fargo, Aaron died in 2014. I was just like, but he's standing right there, and they're like, well, he died in 2014. And I was like, you see, Aaron, that's what alcoholism does to you, man. Yeah. That was funny. That was hilarious.
That's good
All right.
stuff.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. Willie, anything you want to say? We're good?
We're good, guys. We had a good finish to the tax season, and looking forward to working with you guys to help out as many clients as we can on the financial and tax side. So I think we've got a good team of people here, and we'll keep continuing to do what we do every day.
Awesome. Beautiful. All right, ladies and gentlemen, have a
Cheers.
good rest of your day.